racing games, but we figured some of you speed addicts out there might be itching for a fix without actually paying anything. We dug around a little bit and found 10 free racing games you might want to check out on various platforms. They're not perfect, but remember, they're free. So let's get started off with number 10, with Victory, The Age of Racing. This is a free to download and play multiplayer focused racer. The game features 3 car types that are then customized by selecting a performance class and customizing the car's quote unquote blocks, which changes performance and aesthetics and stuff. All the upgrades and new cars require these gear credits though, which are earned in-game or purchased with real money, and there is a deluxe edition package that's available for purchase with real money that adds this deluxe founder racing car pack, and it'll give you more credits to enhance your multiplayer career and build new cars from scratch. Now, look, it's a very free-to-play feeling game, but thankfully the game's racing foundation is fairly solid, and it'll probably keep you busy for a fair amount of time. Now next up at number 9 we have Race Room. Here you get a free bare bones base of the game with a slew of purchasable DLC options. So it's another game that has a lot of free to play mechanics, but thankfully it's just fun, regular old straight up racing. The full package features over 100 licensed cars and 25 tracks, but the free base game is just 3 tracks and 2 cars. Although to be fair, the 2 cars do have a bunch of different options. It's probably the most limited free game on our list, I will say that, but we still figured it would be worth checking out because it is some fairly high quality racing. Now next up at number 8 we have Copa Petrobras de Marcas. This is a completely free Brazilian stock car racing sim. It features 4 cars and 6 maps. Visually, it is becoming a little dated and the community is dying out a little bit, but the game is still very enjoyable. It can work with certain controllers and racing wheels as well if you're willing to tweak it a bit. The game is pretty fine-tuned and performs really good, and there's really no microtransactions or anything bogging it down. It's fun, it's a really good time, and people are still playing it for a reason. But since it's mostly in Brazilian, don't expect a lot of English in the game. But hey, again, it's free. Learn Portuguese. Coming in next at number 7, we have Live for Speed. This has got a free base game with purchasable licenses that expand the game's content. But the base game includes 3 cars and 1 map, whereas the licenses add 17 cars and 7 tracks, but that all comes at a price, obviously. Otherwise, Live for Speed is old school racing sim fun. It's got that older feel to it, like almost like a flight simulator, but for cars, but it doesn't make it any less of a game. It's solid. It was started in 2003 by just a friggin' 3-man team, and it definitely still holds up today. There's a lot you can do with this one, and it runs on older PCs, so if you're looking for something like that, Live for Speed might be right up your alley. Now next up at number 6, speaking of speed, we have World of Speed. Now this is planned to be free to play, but at the time of making this video, it does cost $10 and it's an early access state. It includes several cars and 12 tracks, and they're selling additional cars as DLC and stuff like that, which seems a bit much, some of the cars asking to be $25. But the early access version includes a bunch of standard and premium in-game currency for unlocks and car customization, as well as a 15-day premium account that increases credit and experience and rep gain by 150%. Now, if that sounds a little bit ridiculous and a bit too free to play for you, I get it. But what they're going for here, the game is actually technically a racing MMO. So if you're looking for a bit of a different social racing experience, think about giving this one a try. It's not actually open world, but it has a big focus on team racing and events and competitions. You join up with a club and make moves together within races to tally up points for a greater win. It doesn't have the strongest racing physics, but it's playable and it's some okay fun. And plus, the game's pretty high quality and looks pretty damn good graphically as well. Coming in next at number 5, we have Nitronic Rush. This is completely free to download and play, and is the predecessor to Distance, which eventually found its way to PC and consoles. That game was awesome, and this one is too. This is technically a survival racing game, where you're navigating obstacles on the track by boosting and strafing and jumping and flying around. It's fairly simple, but it can get really hard really fast, and because of that, it's immensely satisfying to play. If you're looking for one of those difficult games that punish you but feel so good while you're doing it, Nitronic Rush might be up your alley. It's not just a good free racing game, it's just a good game, period. Also, it's got this badass Tron style that we're always a sucker for, and it's got some pumping license soundtracks too, so check this one out. Coming down to number 4 on a little variety, we got CSR Racing 2. This is actually free on iOS and Android. It's a drag racing game, so it's more simple than anything else on this list, but we will say it does its one thing very well and has these really brief, punchy races that are good to just play while you're waiting for a bus or killing time. It really works and complements the mobile platform. It's got over 50 different vehicles you can race with, and I will say it is pretty microtransaction happy. It is a mobile game after all. It's got freaking 3 different real money currencies you can buy, but it's worth noting that you can still get by and still have a great time without actually dropping a dime into the game. But next at number 3, speaking of games on your phone, we have the awesome Real Racing 3. You probably come across this series on your phone at one point or another, and for good reason. It's a free download on iOS and Android, down from the $10 asking price from previous Real Racing 1 and 2. Instead, now it's going with a freemium model. Real Racing 3 is a full-on sim racer on a mobile phone with the gameplay you would expect from the genre. It's not a Fast and the Furious game, but like any sim, you have to really slow to a crawl and take sharp turns and the like, and that can be a little unexpected in a mobile phone racing game, but once you push through it, it's a solid racer with a lot of variety and gameplay. The microtransactions are pretty unobtrusive and don't bother you that much, and don't really lock you out of a lot of content, which is a good look for a game like this. It also looks pretty damn incredible for a mobile game, even if you're a few phone models behind. This is a good game to show off and not have to pay for it at the same time. Now next at number 2, we have Forza 6 Apex. This one is a winner because it's got the bones of a complete full AAA experience, just dressed down to a free-to-play mode. While that's not always a good thing, or at least you know with Forza you get a good, fine-tuned racing sim with a good balance between realism and arcade fun, and you can kind of find your preference in the middle with a lot of good customization and stuff. The game looks absolutely great and even has support for 4K 60 FPS should you have the hardware. The base game has 6 maps and 62 cars. That's a lot of cars for free. A lot of these cars are locked, but you don't have to pay to unlock them. Instead, you earn them with earned race medals in-game. That said, there is optional DLC that adds 14 cars and a Nürburgring track, so if you are really into it, you can dump money into it. But if you are that into it and you are considering putting money into it, I'd say at that point just consider the next Forza game. But even still, Forza 6 is a good free time, probably one of the best experiences you can get. But coming down to number 1, we have Trackmania Nations Forever. Now this is sold as a free game in the truest sense of the word. That's their quote, not mine. Trackmania Nations Forever has a solo mode with 65 tracks, official ladders for solo and multiplayer, a track editor that you've probably seen. It's become freaking world famous. Within that track editor and all that, it has its own video studio to make your own videos to show off all the crazy stuff you've done. It's got car customization options and compatibility with Trackmania United Forever multiplayer servers and profiles, so this game still has a lot of life in it. It's just a phenomenal game straight up, and like I said, it's from 2008, but it's still kicking because the core gameplay is just so solid and fun. There's tons that you can still do with this game thanks to years and years of community behind it. While it's not like a realistic classic racing sim, it's one of the more unique games on our list. It's also a damn fun one and one of our absolute favorites. Those are 10 free racing games that we think you guys should check out. There have been more in the past, some have shut down, some have kind of fizzled away, but these are the ones that we think are at least worth the bandwidth and a few minutes of your time to check out. And at the end of the day, with any of these, hey, you're not really spending